Hello! Welcome back to the Puck and Stuff podcast with my boy T-Dog over here. As you could tell already, we're on to the Central Division. We just posted the Metro and the Atlantic, as you already saw. And now we're on the Central, and what a week. As a hockey fan, hockey is back. It's officially back. Games are going nuts right now. Ads are everywhere on the boards. Gotta love it. And this episode is sponsored by, well...
What does it say here?
I don't know. But
a man can dream, yes.
A man can dream. Yes, he can. But hey, guys, I'll quickly just do this to make life easy. And another tier list for you boys. We got Central Division, as I've already said too many times in this episode. I guess we should just get started right into it.
Alrighty.
T-Dog, who do you got? Number 8.
Number 8, the Colorado. I'm gonna make that joke every round now.
Matt Duchene's still with them? God damn.
Matt Duchene? Oh, yes. Is this 2016, 2017? Yes, Colorado is number
Colorado is 8th. Okay, I believe it.
Man, how are they ever going to get out of this dumpster fire? It's like 5 years later.
Trade Cale Makar, trade the team. You know how
That's kind of crazy how much that changes, hey? Well, think of how coincidental, or... the luck involved in Colorado having such a garbage season that year, like what was that, 6 seasons ago now? 5?
Yeah, about 5.
And then because of that garbage season, they draft Cale Makar, right? They kind of stole him, but it's crazy how that works. But in reality, okay, so the number 8 is the Arizona Coyotes. Now, as much as this team is definitely tanking for Mr. Connor Bedard there, or Matvei Michkov, whichever one you think goes number 1, at the end of the day, they got nice jerseys, and the arena is going to be absolutely packed because there's going to be a bunch of university students.
Oh, you got to love it.
We're just going to be there just to have a good time. So it's going to be a good atmosphere. It's just, you know what? Just don't focus on the game because that's going to be there's not much there. Chychrun is probably gone, I think, by deadline.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
There's been tons of talk.
There's really not much to Arizona, to be honest. I just think, you know what? It's a perfect time. Why not tank, right? I mean, things are getting kind of all figured out, I guess, with Arizona and its management. But I mean, there's a few, like, you know what? Let's just like give some credit to like some of Arizona's roster. You know what I mean? Like, I do like Jack McBain, right? 22-year-old there. I think he has some potential. He's a good center. I lose my roster spot there. Clayton Keller, of course, who's just still young at 24, and he's been locked in for a few good years there at a $7.1 million cap hit. That's not terrible. Lawson Krause isn't bad either. Nick Schmaltz, probably not worth the money of $5.8 million per year, but you'll take it. I mean, Zach Kassian really is a number one.
He's a number 1 option out there, guys.
100%. 40, 50 goal scorer. He can kind of play any position. He's a great two-way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Stanley Cup, hey? It really is hard with some of these bottom teams to just not be sarcastic about it.
Especially Arizona in this sense. But and
I do like some of these young players. Barrett Hayton, too. Dyson Mayo as well. I do like Dyson Mayo. And Karel Vermelka. So, I mean... some aspects. It's a tank season. You can't do much about it, but at the end of the day, there's some players that would be good trade assets.
That is true.
It's possible.
That is true. And honestly, I was thinking of a different team at number 8, but you totally caught my attention with Arizona, and I'm like, yeah, they're number 8 on my list. I look at Arizona more and more as the years go by. They got amazing jerseys, got an amazing logo, but as soon as they move to that arena, and how they've just been rebuilding for 20 plus years, really. It's really hard to not be sarcastic about this team. It really is.
No,
but
it's difficult.
It's really difficult not to because it's such a bottom feeder team. And they've been at the bottom of the league for a whole 2 decades. You could probably even make the case even more. And, like... you just start to feel bad for a team. And this is one of those teams you really start to feel bad for.
Oh, 100%.
But I do like Clayton Keller. He's a great forward. He has tons of potential. He's still a young player. But I look at the rest of the team, and it's like, ugh. Yeah, Jacob Kirchen is probably gone by the end of the season. And, I wouldn't even say end of the season. I would say probably by trade deadline. He'll probably go to a contender. But, yep, I don't have much to say about this team. I've always been why is this team not relocated yet?
He can go to the Buffalo Dynasty. They have like $18 million in open cap right now.
Yeah, because they're also in a rebuild. So to number 7, and I think we got the same number 7. It's the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah, we do.
And you kind of saw this. It's really hard to explain what the hell they did in the last 2 years because they signed Seth Jones, they got Fleury as their goaltender, they got halfway into the season with both of them, and then they decided, nah, we're gonna trade Fleury. Kind of realized we're not doing well and tank a bit. So you obviously saw that with Kirby Dach getting traded in Montreal. Then you had DeBrincat getting traded to Ottawa. And it just kind of went downhill from there. And Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews are both there. That Seth Jones contract isn't looking better every year. And this is kind of a complete destroyed year, to be honest. This is a rebuild for Connor Bedard as well, to be honest, with this team.
100%. I mean, you can tell too, like, let's just look at their draft picks. They have 2 draft picks in the first round for this coming draft. Same with round 2 and round 3. And they stacked up a bit for the season after. 2 first rounds in 2024, 2 in the second round, 2 in the third. So they got a few there. I think that's
I'm kind of seeing them like Philadelphia right now in a sense of, oh, we got to kind of tear it apart to rebuild it. So Chicago is looking in the same depth as that. But it's still weird to me that you traded 2 young potential stars like that could actually give you more, like, help you more down the line instead of trading your veterans players, which was odd to me.
I really did think that DeBrincat would be someone that you would try to keep just because I think with just age-wise.
Same with Kirby Dach in that sense.
That's very true, too. And, I mean, to be fair, it's like the news has been, like, not reported, but speculated that, Kane and Toews seem to want to stay with the team. And if they want to, by all means, do it.
Yeah,
so maybe something happens at the end or trade deadline, same thing. It is very odd, right? I just the DeBrincat deal just seems so like it works for Ottawa, but it seemed odd. I mean, maybe we understand it more as time goes on here. But yeah, Chicago ultimately they have like same thing. They have like Arizona, they have some a little bit of value that you could trade for and stuff. Maybe that more contenders would like some pieces to have, but it just doesn't help too, right? When they have $4 million in projected cap, but when you're paying like the Jones contract, for example, that just sucks. You know what I mean? Like no matter where it is, like
it's steep. It's very
steep. Yeah. But
I thought it was even steep when they first happened.
No,
not like now it's really steep. I thought it was steep when it first happened.
Thank you, Seth Jones, for absolutely ruining
every
the
GM. Salary cap for defensemen.
Yeah, I guess what I'm going to see with this Chicago team, I just want to kind of see what happens with Kane and Toews. That's my biggest question, I guess. Because I can see Kane still putting up a few points. This guy sneakily, I think he put up 80 this season, did he not?
I think he put up like 90.
90 or something like that.
Over 90.
With a team like that, so.
Yeah. It's Patrick Kane, though. So.
Exactly, right? And yeah, man, it's crazy how quick you can kind of forget how good players are. My number 6, this might be a bit of a, I don't know.
I got 2 teams in mind. I got 2 teams in mind.
Mine is the Winnipeg Jets. I don't see this team taking a step forward. I have a feeling, because I also saw speculations that if this season doesn't go right, they're going to have a big shakeup. I think that's what Winnipeg needs.
True.
I wouldn't mind being wrong because you want to keep assets like Scheifele and Kyle Connor. You really want to keep Kyle Connor. You want to keep Kyle Connor.
100%.
And of course Hellebuck. You want to keep Connor Hellebuck, right? Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. I don't see much of a jump. I think they kind of just stand still a bit. Something could change, very much so, but I definitely think that it would work in the best interest for Winnipeg to definitely like retool a little bit.
You know what? I'll jump in this conversation as well. I was thinking of number 6 for someone else, but honestly, kind of how you said with Winnipeg, it makes a lot more sense to me. So hearing the idea of a shakeup for Winnipeg right now might be actually its best interest for its management and maybe the whole team itself, because like obviously you still have its pieces on offense, defense, and goaltending. Connor Hellebuck, we just mentioned him in our top 10, and we did give him a lot of praise because he used to be a top 3 goalie in the league. You could probably say like 2 seasons ago, when I would probably say 3 actually.
It still is, but it's just
the team he's on.
It's exactly right.
And it's really hard to like be known as a top 3 goalie when you're going 27-27 in a 50% win percentage, and it's tough like that for him. And you look at this defense as well, and Nate Schmidt's on it, and it's got some good pieces, just not like star-studded talent there. And it's same thing with it's hard to say with the forwards, but I would say the same thing with the forwards other than Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele. They are star-studded players, but it's just a team that's put in a really tough situation, and I see a lot more talent from other teams and have more playoff push in the sense which you're looking for. And one thing I did also mention with Connor Hellebuck, it is definitely on him this season to be able to kind of see where he could take this team, because he is known as the starting point for this team. Sorry, Jesse Pollock, your team probably won't make playoffs this year. But yeah, I'll agree with you and put them at 6.
I guess really he would have to stand on his head. I mean, Hellebuck can of course do that, but all these pieces have to work together, and they got to just elevate all their games.
So, if you're okay with me jumping on number 5, and my number 5 here might cause a little bit of controversy, but probably not. I think we're on the same page with most of these. It's going to be the Dallas Stars.
Okay.
So Dallas had a really good running last season. They ran into the Calgary Flames in playoffs, which Jake Onger stayed on his head to basically keep that team alive through the series, but Flames came up top and they had to be they were eliminated. They lost their coach and they brought in a new coach, and they're kind of looking like they're kind of that mediocre stage of a team right now, because you still have Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. Their contracts obviously are a little bit more than what they expected of playing them as, but still, you look at this team does have some really good bright spots. Like Jason Robertson, as we've talked about him many times on here, he's still a young, talented player that could bring a lot of potential to this team. And we look on the other side as their defenseman, Mikko Hirskinen is a young studded defenseman that could be probably a top 5 in a couple years. And then you look at their goaltending, Jake Onger himself, who killed it in playoffs, almost got us eliminated in Game 7, but we had to put up 60 shots to finally get through. And I do have a lot of praise for this team, but compared to the rest, I got to put them at number 5.
Yeah, my problem is, and I mean, now they have a new coach in DeBoer, scoring is their biggest problem. Now, it's funny because, Robertson's on this team, and he scores a lot of goals. I could see him cracking 50 this season. He will eventually. It could be this season. Besides that, when you're not getting your offense, like Sagan and Ben because of injuries and, with that cap hit. Pavelski, of course, is still assisting. I do also like Mason Marchment as an acquisition from this season. But I think scoring is going to be a big problem, and that's why I don't see them. I mean, maybe they could sneak in the wild card again. It's just funny, just being a Flames fan, kind of talking down Dallas. I mean, it's very possible, but I think it's going to be tough again. It's just scoring, and then you lose Klingberg, right? You lose John Klingberg, and so you do lose on your blue line. I think that's going to be a little more impactful than I think most people think. Although you still have Heiskanen, Lindell, but then it's not the bottom 3. The bottom 4 is not terrible. I mean, those Lindquist, Yanni Hakanpää, Joel Hanley, right? Colin Miller and Ryan Suter, but of course too Ottinger and Wedgwood as a backup. So you have a great goaltending tandem. Similar thing to Winnipeg. You're gonna have to have your goalies stand on their head, and all their players elevate their game. That's what I think. It's the scoring to me. It's that their offense really needs to come back to life. But Dallas has never been like that. But Rowdy Rick teams are never based off that. And the Boer system, I mean, it could be Vegas, right? Oh, kind of all about that flashing lights kind of play. So we'll see. But I honestly, fortunately, I just think some of these other teams take bigger steps this season and are going to outperform Dallas there.
That is very true. I'll also give you the honor of number 4.
So my number 4 is the St. Louis Blues.
Mm.
They lose Perron, and I think that's someone you lose as a leader as well as someone who solidifies good depth on your wing. And so I think that's going to hurt a little bit. Although St. Louis still has their strong suits in players like Ryan O'Reilly and Tarasenko and Shen. Other players who are also on the depth there for like Bushnevich, also Kyrou. Although he did drop off a little bit at the end of the season, he had a great start to the season. I don't see any reason why he couldn't go back to that, right? Come back to his all-star form per se, and that's really nice. Barbashev, I guess Noel Acciari as well. A part of me feels the Philly Husso trade was the wrong move.
Yeah, I was actually going.
It's hard to say, but it's like Husso or Binnington. It's just Husso to me played stronger in the regular season, but Binnington had to be the better goalie in the playoffs. So that's probably what made or break it.
Yeah. Stanley Cup champion. He did lead the team to a Stanley Cup as well.
That's
you do
true.
have to take that into
we
consideration.
are 3 to 4 years now apart from that now, right? But
that is true.
I guess Grice isn't a terrible backup, although I still do like their defense. Krug is older, of course. Same with Justin Falk. But Parayko has an A on his shirt sleeve or on his sweater for a reason, right? And so you get Nick Leddy. I just realized these St. Louis and Detroit kind of swapped some players.
They really did.
But similar team, of course, to what it was last season. So I don't see them not struggling. Like I said, I just think this number 3 team specifically, I think they take a bigger step, and I think that's why this team will be at the 4 spot.
Honestly, I'm going to agree with you on this. Number 4 is also St. Louis for me. Like you were mentioning with this team, they haven't changed a whole lot considering other than the goaltending change of Ville Husso that went to Detroit. And Jordan Binnington has a big season on his ahead of him right now because it's kind of proving, I've won a Stanley Cup before. I can truly become a starter for a regular season AL playoff scenario, which would be really great for him to kind of return to that factor for him. And as you mentioned with the defense, Justin Falk, Torrey Krug, Pireko, pretty good defensive all around. And then I'm really curious if this player cracks the roster spot, Jake Neighbors.
Yeah, man.
I was really
thinking, I'm hoping, you know what I mean? Like, then I will definitely watch the team with great interest. Something like that happened.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they have a spot. I mean, on the bottom 9 to get some young players in, so that's very possible.
Yeah, for sure. And there's been talks that he could potentially get that roster spot, which would be crazy for especially us to see him on it.
I've heard analysts say it's completely NHL ready, so.
Yeah.
There you go. But it's nice. St. Louis still has depth. I just, like I said, don't see St. Louis taking progressive steps compared to these other teams.
That is very true. They didn't go crazy on the offseason. They did lose more than they did gain. And overall, it's a pretty similar team. But yeah, I think I got to agree with you. I think there are other teams in this division that could look a lot better this season. So I'll agree. St. Louis at number 4. So my number 3.
Okay.
My number 3 is the Minnesota Wild.
Okay.
So Minnesota, this team is this seems interesting to me because what they did in playoffs wasn't spectacular, obviously, but Kaprizov is just such a stunning, talented player in this league, and I love to see players like that. And they're pretty built all around. They still have Fleury. They had to get rid of Cam Talbot, which kind of I didn't really see the reason I've lost. Maybe it was cap reason concerns, but average defense, forward group. Obviously, I still think they could have added more to the forward depth in the offseason, but overall, still a pretty solid team. They could make a surprise in the playoffs if they truly made it. And
I think with Minnesota is one of those examples of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know?
True.
So I think that's why you kind of keep the team the same. I do like Minnesota. I really do think that for that first line and Zuccarello, Kaprizov, and Hartman could be even more dominant factor than they were even last year, which is crazy to think, right? Like, they were right up there. So I could see that just kind of forwarding this group to kind of push through. I actually put them at number 2. I'll give them at number 3 in a sec, but I really do like Minnesota. I think, especially if Fleury can kind of, get on a good hot streak at the start of the season, I think take that momentum. And it'll have to be him because I don't think Philip Gustafsson can honestly play more than 15, 20 games. So I think Marc-Andre Fleury has to be a key factor in this. I think it's possible. Very much so.
He becoming a top 5 goalie after this season again.
He's already Hall of Fame solidified. But can you imagine a season like that?
Oh my God, that would be nuts.
Like it'd be awesome to talk about. But I really do like this team. I think Minnesota just they play with speed now. They're not as boring as everyone is used to with Minnesota hockey. Yeah. I love some of the young guys. Marco Rossi cracked the roster. Matthew Boldy, Sam Steele's on this team now. But then, of course, like Joel Eriksson next on this thing. So on this team, Frederick Goudreau. That top line really is like the catalyst. Yeah. So it might lack a little bit on the bottom 6 there. But young players, I think they can take a step and help out with that. Spurgeon still is an elite, a star defenseman. Brodin as well. Dumba, Middleton, Goligoski, Cal Addison, Andre Schuster. So, yeah, like I said, nothing too many crazy changes, but I think they can even improve from this season.
My number 2 was Nashville.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm good. Yeah. All right, just making sure. And so, I do have a lot of praise for Nashville this year because they did actually do a few changes in the offseason. We talked about Saros on here in our top 10 goalies as well. You gave a lot of praise for him being the catalyst for that last season, which I do agree. Saros could go absolute off this season, potentially become a Vezina caliber goaltender, which he already is, but he could win a Vezina. You look at their defense, they did actually add Ryan McDonough from Tampa Bay because Tampa was trying to clear some cap space, and you added to your D-line, so that helps Roman Josi out quite a bit. And then in the offseason, you did sign Phillips Forsberg, you kept him long-term, and it's like same team, but they just look better in a sense in my eyes because just all around, you still have the strong forward group. You added an addition with Roman Josi to the defenseman, which makes you a little bit more satisfied as a coach. And then you still have Saros that had the breakout year that is probably growing his game each game every more and more. So that's why I had Nashville at number 2. And that's why I was like, I want to see if I could talk to him.
Yeah, I could see why I was switching around. You know what? Like, I could see Nashville now.
It's really hard with Minnesota because it's like, still, like, if I had to, like, put the teams beside each other, Minnesota and Nashville, I still think Nashville has a little bit of the upper based on their defense and their goaltending. Yeah, their forward groups look so kind of similar in a sense, but I think Nashville has them by defensive and goaltending.
I gotta say one thing. So, like, I agree with your praise on the Preds. I love their addition of Nino Niederreiter. He's already fit well with the team. I do like this forward group. I mean, Forsberg, you said, is back. I think Duchesne can not bounce back, but he's had a bit of a revenge tour. I think he can kind of keep that revenge tour going.
Very true.
Johansson still has some gas left in him as well. Mikael Granlund, Colton Sissons, Jakob Trenin. Cody Glass cracked the roster, which is awesome. And I always want to see what Tanner Jeannot does because that dude is just, man, he's physical. It's great. Nashville, like, a team that has scoring ability and has physicality, yeah, that is definitely a method of success for sure. UC Saros, that to me is the reason why this team will be in a top 3 position in their division because Saros, I think, could I'm not gonna say he'll win the Vezina, but I think he's gonna be a Vezina caliber goalie. Just simple as that. I think he's gonna stand on his head this season. I don't know. I just have a feeling. I got much respect for Saros,
Sure.
I'm okay with you putting Nashville at 2 now that you say that. But I will still stick with it being 3. You just have some teams that just perform better in certain times of the year. It ultimately leads them to having a better record. So,
fair enough. And we know who number 1 is, right? Arizona Coyotes.
The one thing about Colorado, there's like, this isn't about them repeating. I think losing Kemper might be more impactful than we realize. Just because I don't think people gave enough credit to Kemper, in my opinion. A lot of people... It's weird because usually like people really... It's like Tampa with Vasilevsky. But I think Kemper really played solid the entire playoffs.
Actually, you know what I realized? He didn't play for some of the playoffs because he was injured.
That's true, but Francouz did.
Francouz did.
They still have Francouz.
Yeah.
That's great. Georgiev and Francouz, I think, is a great tandem. I think Francouz could ultimately become a starting goaltender. Whether that be with Colorado or another team. I think he gets enough game time, enough experience. That's good. Landeskog is on the IR. I forgot about that. So that is something that you might have to figure out a little bit. They also did lose Burakovsky and Nazem Kadri, so you lose a little bit. But this team also, people are expecting step-ups from younger players. I think Newhook's been a name I've heard by like multiple like media outlets. Let's look at their defense too. Devon Taves, Cale Makar, easily best defensive pairing in the league. Yeah. I think
it's up there. It
is.
Probably number one.
Will it be as good as Uyghur and Tanev? No.
That's not a discussion I'm having yet until I see them play.
Makar and Devon Taves is great. Devon Taves is such an underrated defenseman in my opinion still.
Very.
McDermott, Josh Manchin, Samuel Girard, Eric Johnson, and Bowen Byram. Bowen Byram's still a young man. Like, I mean, come on, he's 21.
He's showing his development and his potential so well, especially in that playoff run as well.
That's terrifying.
That is.
Colorado could be like the Colorado team from 96 to 01, right? They win the cup, and then give it a few years, but they come back again with more vengeance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Similar core, but just had to readjust a few things because of like cap problems, people leaving.
Fair, very fair, very fair. You did mention with Darcy Kemper, probably Kadri and Darcy Kemper were Colorado's biggest losses after the Stanley Cup win. And it might affect them a lot more than people think it might, but I still think this will probably be the most dominating team out of the Central. You still have Nathan McKinnon. You still have the three-headed beast, basically. You did mention Landeskog is on IR, which kind of sucks for the beginning of the season, but people obviously come back, so give it some time. You still have the best defensive pairing, which we did mention. Both players were set on the top 10 for a reason because they were known as the best pair 100%. In the league. Out of all the teams in the Central, I would say Colorado is still the strongest, even what they lost, because even mentioning Evan Rodriguez in the bottom six scares me sometimes.
This Western Conference is going to suck.
Oh, it's going to be great. But hey, guys, that was the Central Division. I hope you guys enjoyed. Do you like our list? Do you think it's absolute dog? Please tell us what you think in the comments. And also, leave a like. Drop it in the comments what you want to see next. And please subscribe. We're so close to 70 and 69. Wink. But hey, guys, that is episode. That is the Central Division. And D-Dog, please take it away.
Well, on to the Pacific Division.
Ooh, boy.
I'm excited for this one because that's probably the one that's going to get the most conversation going. So, hey, hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.